Good morning. Good morning. We have an interesting week 4 main slate. We're going to cover it all here. Ownership movement, injuries, late swap ideas, favorite stacks, all that good stuff. We'll check in on our owners club lineups as well. Maybe we'll sneak in an underdog draft. Maybe we'll talk about a bet. Let's do it.
I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chokitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto matched with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way, in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust down AP, crazy 5 bullets in your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone. It's time to get the fluff out. All right. Seen a lot of content this week, a lot of fluff. The mainstream can sheeps this, just giving you nonstop fluff. Well, I'm here to just give you the raw, uncut, good plays, the stuff that'll help you win $1 million. I posted a tweet from the counselor this morning, or it was a screenshot of his TikTok or whatever. It was a training montage with the caption, "When NFL players call you fat." I love it. Counselor provoking NFL players, trying to box them. And then I don't even know which one called him fat. It must have been Le'Veon Bell. But then I love that he used that as motivation to get back in his basement gym. All right. GM. Sounds like you're using the webcam mic. Thank you. I need help. I actually just did like a reset of a bunch of settings. Let me make sure that you are correct.
Thank you. We should be good to go now, Mookie. This is why you guys take care of me. Oh, no. We're doing start-sit questions. I just did start-sit questions over in the Fantasy Life app. Do I bench Deontay Johnson for Myles Gaskin because I'm worried? Okay, you're trolling. Okay, thank God. I read that, and I thought you were serious. Every time I hear you talk, I'm imagining you on TikTok. That's my goal. We did the show with Sal Vetri on Splash Play on Friday, and he taught me a lot about TikTok. Thinking about getting in those TikTok streets. That's right. Thank you. We got all the hoodies are up in the store now. I got them for a lot of the shows, repping our NFT bros, Club MGMI here. We got Ship Chasing. We got Club Top Shot. If there's a design or style you'd like a hoodie in, let me know. They're very, very comfy. All right. What are we doing here? Yes, I did go apple picking yesterday. Did I get Honeycrisp? No, we got Macoons. We got some Cortlands. You saw my Cortland Sutton GPP joke. What are the good plays? Yeah, that's the stuff we're going to get into. You guys are just absolutely firing questions here. This is actually a good one to start with. When building my lineups, I seem to be gravitating towards lineups with only 1 p.m. guys. Should I switch to the early state or stay on the main slate? So I've definitely felt this as well, Nick, building today, where there are a couple good games late, but they're a little tricky, I think, as far as loading up. So unless you're doing an Arizona, Los Angeles Rams game stack, I do think you're naturally going to be pretty heavy on the 1 p.m. slate. I think it's just the nature of the way the slate is formed and the fact that Baltimore, Denver, Pittsburgh, Green Bay aren't super attractive. So what was it 2 weeks ago where we had all the insane 4 p.m. games and you wanted to leave yourself all that optionality late? I don't think you have to think about this slate that way. I still like having a couple pieces to work with because, as we have discussed ad nauseum on here, having that flexibility is very valuable. So if you just have like a mini correlation, I think I have like a Henderson, Christian Kirk, stuff like that, a Brandon Ayuk with a Will Disley or whatever. I'm keeping myself flexible so I can make those moves, but I think it's okay to be 1 p.m. heavy today. That's just kind of how the slate is breaking here. Yes. Did we stumble onto Blender's stream? Yes, you can play whoever you want this week. And honestly, it is one of those weeks. The ownership is incredibly efficient. I think I mentioned this with Dink. Like when you go and you look right now at the top ceiling wide receivers. So Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin. I just listed those off straight by ceiling projection. All of them are going to come in over 10% owned. The only guy in the top 15 ceiling wide receivers who isn't projecting right now for over 10% owned is Justin Jefferson, who is one of my favorite plays on the slate. But I think there is just so much value and so many attractive plays just bunched up in that range that I do think we're going to see some weird ownership stuff. I don't know who is going to fully get squeezed out. One of the other dynamics that's been really interesting to me is just listening to all the GPP Bros shows and far, far more chatter about Philadelphia KC than Dallas Carolina. And my read is that in large field and bigger tournaments, Dallas Carolina is still going to be the more popular game. But man, if you're playing this really small field stuff, like we're talking the juke, I think anything under 1,000, I really think we could see KC Philly as the more popular game. It's just one of those dynamics we've been talking about. I talked about it all the time, talked about it with Dink on Friday, where there's this leveling, like everyone knows, okay, early in the week, yep, Carolina, Dallas, that's a chalk. All right, what's our GPP bro pivot? Oh, it's going to be Philly KC. Well, all of a sudden by the end of the week, Philly KC and super small field stuff has somehow flipped Dallas Carolina. And so I'm not saying go jam Dallas Carolina. I'm just saying I think those ownerships in those game environments are going to be far more similarly owned than we probably would have expected at the beginning of the week. Matt, that is a nightmare that you played a Zach Wilson stack. Do you find yourself just picking Devontae Adams over Hill and Diggs because he's a 4:00 play? No. This is what I'm talking about too. And Devontae Adams is going to be very chalky. I aggregated a few ownership projections. I'm seeing him at 20%. So, I mean, I would rather play Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs than Devontae Adams. I mean, that's one of those situations where if it was reversed and the lower owned guy was going late, like that's more valuable. Or if you had a very clean pivot, say if both Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams were going late, then you could just make the decision accordingly based on how your lineup's doing. But no, I'm not forcing Adams. I don't think that's a great game environment. I mean, let me pull up our stuff over here at Run the Sims so we can check in on some of these updated totals. And as I do this, by the way, guys, I've mentioned this all throughout the week. We do have a free week at Run the Sims. We have a free week. You guys can just sign up, make a free account, and you get access to all the tools. So if you want to go and mess around with the Sims, if you want to mess around with the optimizer, all that good stuff, now is your chance to do that. What was I going to look at? Oh, yeah, that game environment. I mean, we have 45 projected points in this game. You go over to the KC Philly game, we're seeing 54-point over-under. You go to the Bills game, 47-point over-under, but their implied team total is massive there as 17-point favorites. So I don't know. I prefer Diggs and Kelsey to Adams. I mean, I get it with Adams. I just don't think that game has near the amount of shootout potential than those other ones. Let's see here. The real question is, with the big dog getting targets, is his ceiling CMC-esque every week? Same with Najee. I won't go as far as CMC-esque. Let's say Dalvin Cook-esque, right? Where Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey gets so much of his production through the receiving game. Dalvin Cook is a little bit more of a tweener where he still relies on rushing efficiency with the 4 to 5 catches to give him that ceiling. I think he's more Dalvin Cook-esque, where previously Derrick Henry was far more boom bust because he wasn't catching passes. Dalvin Cook has a higher floor because he does have that, solid pass catching floor. And I think Henry's now right there with Dalvin Cook, but still a tier below as far as from a floor. But I guess to answer your question from a ceiling, yeah, I do think he has that ceiling now, just in the same way Dalvin Cook does. The catches don't really To me, I think the catches raise the floor more than they, raise the ceiling. Weekly Buffalo update. It's rainy, minimal wind currently. Yep. I've mentioned this before. Kevin Roth from Roto Grinders, he sends me dispatches for the Fantasy Life newsletter. If there's any weather issues that people need to be monitoring, he did not message me about this. So I'm taking that as an indication that we don't need to worry about that. That was kind of a nice gift last week because I think that helped keep the Bills ownership in check. What do we think about the San Francisco running backs? Yeah, no Elijah Mitchell. It's tough. I think Trey Sermon, I like betting on a rookie who they invested a lot in his role growing. And I'm not saying that because, they want to save face or whatever. It's more because they have no options. And I really don't think they want to use, Kyle Juszczyk a ton. I don't think Jacques Patrick is going to mix in a ton. He's still a very risky play, but I don't think it's the worst thing. I mean, talk about a late swap option. I don't think I've built any dummy lineups. How much with Sermon? How much is Sermon? He's 5,000. So the play to me would be to do like little minis. Like if you have a Henderson and like a Rondell Moore, that's what, 10,000 in salary. And then you could switch to like a Sermon. And I don't even know what you could get. I guess you could do like a Swain. I mean, if you were really buried or something and needed to free up salary, I don't know. I'm just looking at some of these pivots there that you could give yourself paths to getting to Sermon if you need. Let's see here. Could you rank Zeke, Henderson, Zeke, Gibson, and Swift? Do you mean from just like a raw points perspective or how I think about them as tournament plays? I really like Henderson as a tournament play. We should actually head over to the simulator here because once again, Henderson is popping in the simulator. And I think because he missed last week, because he was banged up in practice, I don't think he's going to catch a ton of ownership. He's in the late game as well. So let's run the sims here. When I ran it earlier this morning, Henderson was popping again. Yep. So there you see him right here. His opto rate, 15% of lineups. His current projected own here at 8.3%. So yeah, to answer your question, I like Henderson. All four of those guys honestly aren't the worst tournament plays. I don't think any of those guys are going to get massive ownership. Zeke, I'm seeing around 8%. Gibson is interesting because I'm seeing him around 12%. And yet, because he had the shin injury this week, I feel like people are a little spooked about him. Like I haven't heard him discussed a ton. And then I do think Swift is solid too, but probably is going to catch a little bit of ownership. Henderson of those guys is my favorite. Let's see. Am I going crazy or is Dallas, Carolina more of an option now versus earlier in the week? Yeah, that's exactly what I was just talking about with the Philly KC flippening as far as sentiment. I do think it's more of an option. I think you still need to be very mindful. DJ Moore is going to be very popular. CeeDee Lamb is going to be popular. But if you want to pick your spots, I think I might try to pick my spot with a mini correlation, maybe a Chuba and a Dalton Schultz or, something like that. I do worry that the pass catchers, though, are going to be fairly popular. But I think you can thread the needle in that game. When ownership is this efficient, should we be leaning harder into correlation? I think so. And the smaller the contest you're playing, the more you can do this. If you're playing in really small field stuff, you can almost game stack just one or two games where you're essentially saying, I only have to get two things right. Like if the Cleveland, Minnesota game and the Philly KC game are the two highest scoring games on the slate, I'm just game stacking those two games and being done with it. Obviously, the bigger your tournament gets, the more you need to try to access more individual ceilings. But I do agree with this premise entirely that pricing, ownership, very efficient. So let's lean into getting less things right. I do not currently have any Josh Allen lineups. He is projecting to be the highest owned quarterback on the slate. I get it. I really want to play some Diggs. I think he's a phenomenal play. I'm just getting a little scared off by the ownership. And when I go down, Kyler Murray is $2,000 cheaper than Josh Allen, and he's going to come in at almost a third of the ownership. So I've been looking more at Kyler if I'm paying up for a premium stack. But I mean, I don't hate it. The Bills have a monster ceiling. I actually kind of like Zach Moss in this game. You know, Zach Moss really separated from Devin Singletary last week in usage. He's 5,300. I'm seeing him projected for 3% ownership. They have they have a massive team total. They're projected to win by 17 points. You got to imagine a pretty good game script in the second half for Zach Moss. And I'm always desperately trying to save money at running back. So right now, Zach Moss is my preferred way to play that game, but I do not begrudge anyone for wanting to fire up Allen, Diggs, whatever secondary options. I think you can just choose between Sanders and Cole Beasley. They're both going to get around 9 to 10% ownership. Dawson Knox, I think, is fine if you want to toss him in there. So yeah, I like that game. Cooks is actually interesting to me as well. He was who I was looking at for a mini with Zach Moss. I mean, his target share and his role has been so good, and I'm seeing him at 5% ownership. So I think if you are playing that game, I would definitely make sure you have Cooks in your lineup, because the only way Josh Allen gets pushed for 4 quarters is if Houston's hanging, and that's probably going to be through Brandon Cooks. Let's see here. Travis Homer or JJ Taylor? Frank, what kind of question is this? This is a DFS show. We're not playing these guys. I guess JJ Taylor, I guess. Doing any 3RB builds feels like there are lots of good spots. Man, we must be seeing different stuff. I can barely find 2 running backs I like to put in my lineups. I will not have any 3 running back lineups on DraftKings. I just fall in love with the wide receiver ceilings way too much. Like, especially when I can get a guy like Brandon Ayuk, you know, in my flex slate at 5,000, who I think has a really big ceiling. I do agree that there's slates where 3 running backs make sense, but it hasn't revealed itself to me to be the case this week. Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley. I just have a hard time playing Matt Ryan. I mean, I look at the ceiling projections for quarterbacks, and Matt Ryan has like the 16th highest ceiling on the slate. He, to me, just feels like if you want to play that stack, I'd almost just rather play Calvin, Ridley, and McLaurin without, I read that like 3 names, Calvin, Ridley, and McLaurin as a mini, and then play like a Taylor Heineke even, who I think has more upside than Matt Ryan, or just go down and play a Justin Fields or a Jalen Hurts, basically game stack elsewhere and use that as a mini. I think Leone is on Matt Ryan, so I'm probably wrong on this, but I can't pull the trigger on Matt Ryan. Mike Davis or Cordero Patterson. Several touts love Mike Davis, but run the Sims and Rangefinder love Patterson. Yeah, that's an interesting one too. I know that this has been a topic of conversation. I mean, to me, I prefer Patterson just because he's slightly cheaper and he has slightly less ownership. And I do like seeing the kind of rubber stamp from the Sims here that he is appearing in 13.7% of lineups. So yeah, I side Patterson there as well in the great Patterson-Mike Davis debates. I guess Leone and I are going to have lots to argue about later. Matt Ryan, Mike Davis, Metcalf versus Lockett. I always get it wrong. I know it's him, and then it's the same as the Thielen Jefferson every week. Priced similarly, similar ceilings, similar ownership. What do you do? I do think because Lockett is banged up, I do prefer DK Metcalf. I think the problem is DK Metcalf is probably going to have double his ownership. So that's another one where I think you can use this one as a very clean pivot, right? Like if you have a Metcalf or you're deciding between Metcalf and Lockett, you have Metcalf in your lineup. And at 4 p.m., if you're crushing, you can let it ride with Metcalf. If you're behind, probably need to pivot to Lockett, because as we see in these small field stuff, is Metcalf gets steamed much harder than Lockett. People just like playing Metcalf way more, myself included. And so that dynamic generally tends to play out. Do you have your cash shell locked? Shit. I do think someone sent me $1 head to head. I have been accepting head to heads, even though I'm not really playing cash. So I actually have not made my cash shell. I've been in full GPP bro mindset. Can you double Lamar with Brown and Andrews, or do you need to just take a stand on one with a skinny? I think you skinny it for a couple reasons. One, the usual dynamics of Lamar being able to get it done on the ground and just can get there with just one pass catcher. And also, I just don't love this game environment. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a slog fest here. 44-point over under. I believe Pat Thorman wrote this up in a pace down spot over at ETR. So if I did see that when I was looking at stuff earlier, I noticed a Lamar Andrew Sutton was looking really good ownership relative to ceiling. And I don't think I'm going to have it, but it's interesting to me. But yeah, to answer your question, I wouldn't double stack that game with Lamar. Are you playing Fields single stacked or naked and play multiple other correlations? I'm not playing Fields this week. And again, it just goes to that game environment thing. I mean, 41.5 over under here. Nagy has basically not shown any willingness to play to Fields' strengths. I'm just not convinced that he has the upside to really help us win a tournament in this game environment with Nagy, at the helm. So I get it from a points per dollar perspective. I'm higher than consensus on Fields. Like I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. I think last week was a horrible matchup against Cleveland. He got sacked so many times. So yeah, I'm not out on Fields in general. I just don't love this spot for him and the team mainly this week. All right. Any CEH love? I was looking at that this morning because like I said, I've been loving to just get rid of my running back positions any way I can logically. The problem is I'm seeing CEH at 12% ownership at 5,400. I'd rather play a Zach Moss. I'd rather try to get up and play a Saquon. I'd rather play a Darrell Henderson for a couple hundred more. So I get it. But the way I'd rather play that game is through the pass catchers. I'd rather go with a Hardman there. I like Devonta Smith, Rager in that range. So if I'm looking for a piece of that game, I just CEH was great last week because his price was insane and the ownership never really rocketed up. This week, I feel like the price is up. The ownership is going to be there. I think it's fine. It's just not my favorite thing. David Montgomery, a good play as a pivot from chalky Lions D. The problem is David Montgomery is going to be extremely popular. That's what's crazy about this. Lions D projecting for 21% ownership. David Montgomery projecting for 19% ownership. So basically what this is saying is like every other lineup is going to have one of David Montgomery or Detroit Lions defense in it, assuming people aren't going to play David Montgomery against the Lions defense. So, I mean, I would like that leverage play far more if Montgomery was sub 10%. Then it makes a lot of sense because you are, killing two birds with one stone. Pete, could you not steam Moss? I have a lot of him today. I do not think I have the ability to steam DFS ownership. Leave that to the ETR bros. We're just over here. Actually, I believe we're at an all-time high for how many people are watching this Sunday Cram. 415 concurrents. Okay, maybe we can slightly, just a tick, move the ownership. I think you're fine though. I don't think Moss is going to get too steamed. Anytime I talked with someone about Moss, I was like, yeah, it's fine. Cleveland steamer today. What does this mean? I do like this game. I like this game a lot. I think there are a ton of ways to attack it. It was number one in the ETR game score thing. Like even when I was just adding up, I like just doing an exercise where I do like a 3+1. So quarterback, two pass catchers, and a bring back, and just looking at the salaries in the ceiling. In this game here, like if you run like Baker at quarterback, like one I was just looking at, Baker, Jefferson, Odell Beckham, Tyler Conklin. I mean, you're getting an insane ceiling relative to the sorry, I just got a call from the Tilt Space guys, and it's like, guys, I'm trying to do a show. The point I'm trying to make is the cost you are paying for that ceiling in that game environment is by far the best, like points per dollar on the slate, just for the kind of stacks you can get. And there's so many options. You can go Jefferson or Thielen at pretty low ownership. You can toss in a Conklin or a KJ Osborne. You can, go with either of the Cleveland running backs. I think the only guy that's going to get crazy steamed, and I've been arguing with Leote about this, is Odell Beckham. I think Odell Beckham has gone from like trendy contrarian play to almost chalk. Like all the comments to a tweet I put out yesterday, comments to my video with Dink is like, oh, stop talking about Odell. Odell's such a great play, yada, yada. Like, to me, this Odell stuff it might even get out of hand to the point I might have to get off of it a little bit. But I do like this game a lot. Pete, talk to me about Kyler in double skinny stacks. Edmonds and Kirk Love bring back with Woods. I like this game. One of the games I have built up a game stack for is the Cardinal side, because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at stuff and I'm telling me, okay, I can get Kyler Murray 5% or less. I can get DeAndre Hopkins 5% or less. I can get Rondale Moore 5% or less. I can get Christian Kirk 5% or less. I can get Tyler Higbee 5% or less. I can get Darrell Henderson 8% or less. And this is the highest total game on the slate. And I get that the Cardinal side of it is expensive, but man, to me, this was like, isn't this the way to attack this game? So I am definitely going to have a Kyler double stack. I've been waffling on if I want to include DeAndre Hopkins in it or not, but I think having, at least one of Edmonds, Rondell, and Kirk in there as cheap guys that can access a ceiling makes a ton of sense. And we've seen it every week. This offense scores a ton of points, and the production is a carousel. 2 weeks ago it was Christian, or 2 weeks ago it was Nuke and Rondell. Last week it was Christian Kirk and AJ Green. I mean, I want to be double stacking Kyler. I think I'm leaning toward not playing Nuke, just knowing how spread out this production can be. I think I'm ready to push my chips in. I'll have at least one of these game stacks. I'm not playing Nick Westbrook, Akeem. I think he's far too popular. I think he's bad chalk at 3,200. I think he's just kind of like the obvious chalk guy. I think he's going to be the staple cash game play, which, as we talked about with Drewby a couple weeks ago, tends to bleed in to single entry and 3 max ownership. So I'm just not messing with that. How much do you weigh questionable tags? It used to be a concern for me, but now I don't really care. Yeah, I mean, questionable tags, it's like, poor weather situations that aren't actually poor. It actually just suppresses the ownership and allows you to get a better discount. So I like those Q tags. I do think I want to be price sensitive with my Q tags, right? Like, I'm not feeling great about jamming Dalvin Cook at 8,100 when I think he could split a little bit of time with Alexander Madison. Now, Darrell Henderson for, almost $2,500 cheaper, exactly $2,500 cheaper, like his Q tag, that the Q tag becomes much more palatable the cheaper these guys get. Terrace Marshall or AJ Green. Terrace Marshall, but that's probably just my age bias shining through. I do think this is kind of a pivotal game just to see where Terrace Marshall and Robbie Anderson actually stay in that pecking order. I like the savings on Marshall though. I mean, price adjusted Ayuk or Debo. Why can't I talk this morning? Debo. I mean, Ayuk for me. Debo costs more, is going to have more ownership. That said, I think if you want to leave yourself flexibility for 2v2 swaps, I think it's similar to that Metcalf Lockett thing, where you could have a Debo placeholder and then you could go down to Ayuk and upgrade elsewhere if that's how you're playing it. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's the only, I'm trying to think if there's any other situations that I didn't talk about. Talked about my love for Arizona, talked about my love for Cleveland, Minnesota. I do think I'm so torn about the Seahawks. Dink kind of pulled some cold water. Pat Thorman pulled a little cold water just on how slow the Seahawks are playing. I still think that game has a chance to speed up. And, the other thing too is Disley is such a good punt play tight end option. And I wonder, just because Gerald Everett, at last I checked, hasn't been ruled out officially, his ownership might not get too crazy in the late game. So man, like something like a Russ double stack with an Ayuk type bring back, that looks pretty nice to me right now. And that's similar to the Arizona thing, where it's a little expensive, to pull off. There's the uncertainty around, Lockett right now. So I think there's just enough uncertainty that it might be a nice GPP situation. Pete, do you ever play onslaughts? Yes, I will. If I'm in specifically small tournaments. I registered for a very small double spy today. I think it's like 600 entries. And I'm thinking about onslaughting that Cleveland, Minnesota game in that tournament. I think the smaller the tournament, the more viable a full-on onslaught is. Once you get up over, 1,000, couple thousand entries, I start to get a little worried about not accessing a ceiling in all my spots. Sam Fran, the juice, running back, or Harris Jacobs. I can't even parse this question, Brandon. I love your Cool Cats avatar, but Kyle Juszczyk, RB, or Harris Jacobs. I don't understand this question. Everett hasn't been ruled out yet. He's expected to be ruled out. I fully expect him to be, but again, I love having that uncertainty heading into lock, because if I do feel like people would just almost be lock buttoning Will Disley. I mean, at 2,600, not having to split tight end rep, I mean, that it is a smash as far as a value. And if this ownership stays under 10%, which it is right now, I really, really like that. How do you get over the mentality of putting all your eggs into two baskets? Is this a riddle, Sam? Are you talking about just like two game stacks? Or I guess I don't fully understand, but I generally have my stacks or my games that I like, and then I plan out a few mini correlations, and then I'm just kind of mixing the pieces in. I'm fortunate too in that I build the 3 to 4 lineups for my own stuff, and then we build another 3 to 4 for tilt space. So I'm able to have kind of like my general core, and then just cycle and mix and match in a decent amount of lineups. So that works for me. How often are double stacks in top 1% of large GPPs? Seems like negative correlation when you damn near need every player to go off. So ETR actually ran the data on this in the offseason. I don't have the article pulled up in front of me, but double stacks were underutilized relative to how often they appeared in the top 1% of lineups. So there's a big difference between a double stack and an onslaught. I mean that you do really have to. I don't think you see many onslaughts winning the Millie Maker, but you still can see plenty of double stacks winning it. So I wouldn't be worried about 3+1s, even in large field stuff. I think the onslaught is where you need to be more contest size conscious. Let's see here. Jalen double with Hill Kelsey, bring back too much for single entry small field. Did you see my tweet yesterday, Christopher? This was my I did a post and Bime4 was ragging on me for going full tout. But I posted, I'll pull it up here, the 3 situations that were trendy earlier in the week that are no longer sneaky. And one of them is a Hurts skinny with 2 Chiefs. You said Hurts Jalen double with Hill Kelsey. Just conceptually, I don't think that's too much. I think a Jalen double with Hill Kelsey, if you just want to go all in on that game in small field single entry, that makes complete sense. I just don't think it's going to be that sneaky. But I don't mind it. Yeah, I talked about him a little bit at the top. I think Trey Sermon is fine. I'd like to give myself outs. I still prefer Henderson in that range. But if we get weird news about Henderson pregame or that he's going to be in more of a split with Michelle or anything like that, I don't know. I don't think Trey Sermon's the worst thing to have in your back pocket. I think you could leave if he's in your flex. You could kind of decide between a Brandon Ayuk or a Trey Sermon. I don't think I am going to play Trey Sermon, but I don't think he's a bad GPP play. When you say hand build, are you going purely manual or are you tweaking an optimized lineup? Do you check projections and ownership once you've built? Yeah, I talked about this with Drewby last Friday. And I think one of the leaks in my initial hand build game this year, and I actually did this correctly last year, is you go into an optimizer and you pick some of the stacks in the games you like, and you run the optimizer just to get a feel for what is the math putting in around these plays I like, to make sure you're not sacrificing too many projected points. And that's why I was talking about too. I do a little bit of it in my own spreadsheet where I simply will add up the combined salary of some stacks as well as the ceiling and the ownership. And you can do that within the Run the Sims as well, which I think is very helpful. If you head over to the optimizer, you can start to compare what some of these stacks look like. And to answer your question, I think that's how you make sure that you're not sacrificing too many projected points, because there is a temptation if you are, prone to gal braining, that you might be leaving 10 projected points on the table just to fit in some kind of correlation or whatever. But I like being able to go in here. Let's go to Cleveland, Minnesota. We can go over to stacks. We can click this one and we can start to compare here. Like if we do Minnesota, actually let's do, because I like the Cleveland QB side more. If we do 2 and then a bring back here, we can do find stacks. And now we can start to look at what is the math putting in salary wise. We can compare projected points per dollar to see which of these stacks is giving us the best value. You can see down here, this stack with Jefferson, Hunt, and Odell, even though it costs less, is actually giving us more projected points and a better projected points per dollar. So I do think this is a really good exercise, especially when you're debating between these hard decisions. Do I play Thielen or Jefferson? Do I play, Chubb or Hunt? You can go through and look at these and just make sure that the math is kind of backing you up here. I don't have any Bobby Trees in my lineup right now. I think Henderson and Higbee both look like my preferred way to target the Rams in that game, but I get it with Robert Woods. The problem is I'm seeing him at 17% projected ownership. So I think that's one of those moves where you can have him in your lineup, but I'd be ready to have a swap. Like I think if you're behind, you pivot to a Brandon Ayuk or a Rondell Moore or some other Christian Kirk. There are really clean swaps today. You can let Robert Woods why can't I talk? You can let Robert Woods ride if you're crushing, but if you're behind, I don't think you can play Bobby Trees at that ownership. Ooh, yeah, this is a good one. I like Jonathan Taylor. Some of the running backs that I like playing as one-offs would be Saquon, 6,700. I'm seeing 5% ownership. Jonathan Taylor, 6,300. I'm seeing 5% ownership. Nick Chubb, 7,000, 5% ownership. Those are some of my guys if I'm paying up a little more out of the, the cheapy range, the Henderson, Zach Moss range. I like Taylor, Saquon, and who is the other one I just mentioned? Chubb. Yeah, I just talked about the Arizona guys. I like them all. I think they look under-owned. I need to do a little bit more digging on just how DeAndre Hopkins sounds for today. He practiced in full this week, so that's what I'm debating on right now. An onslaught, I would say, is anything where you play more than 4 guys from a game. So a 3+1 would be the most common, a quarterback, 2 pass catchers, and then a bring back on the other side. I would say an onslaught is when you have 5 or more guys from a single game is how I would define it. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not forgetting that Nick Chubb ceiling. I think he's going to get lost in that shuffle today. I don't think you have to force a mini correlation with that game. I don't mind Waddle. I don't mind Gesicki popping in the air yards. buy low model and tight end is pretty gross as always. But I'm not forcing it. If it fits naturally, I don't mind it, but I'm not going out of my way to get it. This is great to hear. I appreciate this free week on Run the Sims. It saved hours of prep for me, and I will definitely be subscribing. That's awesome. Yep. With promo code Pete, you can get 10% off. It also gets you access to the private Discord channel in the Deposit Kingdom. It's called the Run the Sims channel. Lots of good stuff in there. My boy Drico and I were helping out someone set up their own Excel spreadsheet in there. Lots of good hive mind conversations taking place there. So if you guys want to join, talk shop all week, we generally talk about the main slates, the showdown slates. You can get access to that via Run the Sims. Like I said, take advantage of the tools this week for free. If it suits your style, if it suits the volume you're playing, you can take the plunge and get 10% off. And if you have any questions about the tools, anything like that, feel free to let me know. My favorite thing right now is I like using this stack tool to compare stuff. And I love using the simulator to compare against ownership. It's just such a nice way to basically say the field has become confident in this. What is the math saying? What is the most likely thing that happens? And then we can quickly say, all right, maybe this isn't as strong of a play as the field thinks. And I think like Cooper Kupp, I'll pull up here, is an interesting one. The math says Cooper Kupp is a good play. Even at 7,800, when you factor in his role in this in-game environment, he's showing up in almost 15% of optimal lineups. That is good. That is a lot of lineups. And yet the field is still more confident in his ability to be in the top lineups than the math says. And so that to me is a fade. And then on the flip side, if I see, okay, Darrell Henderson projected on around 8 to 10%, but he's showing up in the optimal lineups 16% of the time. That's very valuable information to me. I want to be breaking ties in that direction. Justin Jefferson's my favorite play on the slate right now when you factor in ownership and how often he is appearing in optimals. When you factor in that game environment, Justin Jefferson checks every box for me this week. So I love using this as a screener for kind of helping me confirm some of my ideas. Derrick Henry, same thing as Cooper Kupp. Great play. He's appearing in 12.5% of lineups, but the field says, no. We're jamming the big dog, 22.6%. So the field is playing him at almost a double the clip that the math says he should be played. All right, Mookie, shouting out the RTS channel in the Deposit Kingdom. That's right. The link below, if you guys want to join the Deposit Kingdom, we have all kinds of channels. There are multiple channels that are premium, like the Run the Sims channel. But even if you just want to get your feet wet in the Deposit Kingdom, hop in below. There's a DFS channel, Best Ball, which we're not allowed to talk about. All that good stuff. Happy to answer any questions you have. Look at this. We're just getting all the plugs in. The cozy ship chasing hoodie has me feeling light and comfortable while building lineups. If you don't have one, it might be a leak in your DFS game. Corey's writing the ad copy for me. That's right. I have the store. You guys can head to, it's overzet.myshopify.com. I honestly really recommend the hoodies. They're very comfortable. I got a very good provider, Bella Canvas. It's a nice polyester cotton blend, very comfy and cozy. All right. We have been going long here. Let me check in on a couple things. I want to check in on my Owners Club lineups. I actually went shopping this morning because I didn't like some of my running back options. Someone mentioned Jonathan Taylor earlier. I went ahead and bought a Jonathan Taylor, or dare I say, Indianapolis Colts card here. So these are my lineups right now. If you guys aren't familiar with the Owners Club, it is by our friends over at the Own the Moment. You guys probably know Justin Herzig from Underdog, from his ETR stuff. They launched this game that's a NFT meets DFS game. So there's basically two kind of dynamics at play here. You own these cards for the position groups. You can buy them, sell them on an open marketplace. And obviously, team position groups that are doing better go up in price. Bad ones go lower. And then you can also enter their contests and set lineups here. It's just a 5 position lineup: QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense. And it's not PPR scoring, it's standard scoring. And then there's prizes based on how you finish. In the contest, prize pools are free. All you need to do is get your packs, get your moments or cards, I should say, and then you can enter them. They also have the side hustle where you can do these too. And am I? Oh, there we go. So similar to what I've been doing, I'm running with my stacks, always looking to get as much correlation as I can. I got an Eagle stack here with the Kelsey. I keep misspeaking. With the Chiefs tight end bring back. I'm go ahead and jamming my best running back card here, Titans, and then hopefully going a little off the board with defense to make sure this stays a little bit unique. I assume people will mostly be playing the stacks through the KC side. So I'm hoping that isn't too duped. Down here, I got my classic Seattle stack. I bought the 49ers running back this morning. It was a card I want to have. I think all the 49ers cards are undervalued right now until Trey Lance takes over. And I liked having the bring back in this game. Maybe Sermon gets going. Maybe Juszczyk gets a couple TDs. That's the nice thing about this. You do not have to tilt vulture fullback TDs in this format because you get all of the points for the running backs from the team. So happy to roll with the 49ers there, putting in Rams tight end, Dolphins defense. Down here, I have my Bills stack. Don't have a bring back with Houston because I didn't think that was necessary. Going with Washington defense, Raiders tight end, and of course, my new addition here, Colts running back, which I think will be fairly unique there. So if you guys have questions about the Owners Club, I keep mentioning the Discord, but we do have a Owners Club channel in the Discord. We've been able to facilitate some trades, help you guys complete stacks, talking strategy, all that good stuff. It's fun. I like how simple it is. And they are, as I discussed with Justin on, was it Monday? They're launching different contest types. So in addition to the main event in the side hustle, they're going to have more contests. They're going to have a low ball contest, some different ways to utilize the cards that you have. So the low ball contest all of a sudden makes your, I don't know what would be an example, your card or your Panthers tight end or whoever, all of a sudden being more attractive in a low ball contest. Of course I'm a spreadsheet bro. I'm a spreadsheet bro. Remember my conditional formatting, all of that good stuff. Speaking of which, I need to get it on the record which contests I'm playing today for my bankroll challenge spreadsheet. I think I'm in 4 spies this week. I get the DraftKings missions. They keep making me do $100 or more entries to complete my missions. And so I'm like, goodness. So I'm in 833 person double spy. I am in the big spy with 2,200 people. I am in another big spy with 5,500 people, and I'm in a baby spy with 555 people. So on the record for my GPP bankroll tracking this week, I'm in 4 spies. There it is. It is now on the record. Let's wrap up here by doing underdog draft. I haven't been able to do a ton of these. Did this fill? No, it filled. Oh, number 2. They did make a second one. All right. Who wants to hop in and do a quick battle royale with me? You want cozy Pete back? I'm cozy as hell right now. What do you mean? I'm super cozy. Bible Book Club. Henderson and Edmonds in the same lineup, considering their pass catching abilities. I don't hate it. It's not my favorite thing. I'd rather go like Henderson with a Cards receiver or go, Edmonds with Higbee probably. But I don't think it's bad. The problem is I'm not actually sold on Henderson's pass catching ability. I think the Rams just haven't been checking down to the running back a ton. So I don't even know what kind of pass catching floor Henderson has. To me, Henderson's more of a game script play where the the Rams are playing really well and Henderson's getting a lot of burn. Oh, Zach. Oh, did I just get an influencer 101? Here we go. SL question, Pete. What does SL mean? Javonte Williams, Damian Harris, or Mike Davis. Big play league. I can't keep up with all these leagues you guys playing. Mike Davis, even though he's not going to get a big play. I don't know. I don't know the big play scoring settings. I don't know what that does. I don't know how it impacts it. Yeah, the underdog drafts are so fun. I've been so busy. I haven't been able to rip them as much as say my buddy Andy from Club Top Shot does. All right. I guess we will get our Derrick Henry exposure on underdog today because we ain't getting it in DFS. What Jesse says, plus 400 watching and under 100 likes, makes the math makes more sense. This is correct. You pull it up on Run the Sims. It says viewers are appearing in the optimal lineup 431 times, and yet the ownership projections on the likes is only 100. What gives, Jesse? Thank you, guys. In tournaments, Jonathan Taylor, easy. Montgomery is way too chalky for that game environment. 41 point implied over under there or whatever. I don't want that game. Let's see here, guys. I am going to, what do I want to do in this one? Where's the ADP shaking out? I'm done. I'm already done at I guess taking, where did Kelsey go? Yeah, Kelsey going 2. I probably could have taken Kelsey 2 if I wanted to play it that way. Definitely makes a lot of sense. Is that the sharp move? This is my first one I've done this week. It's my first one, but I had to get my big dog exposure somewhere, Hodge. But yes, I am regretting not taking Kelsey. But I'll never admit it. I will never admit it. Let's get some wide receivers. Did Clay sneak in here? There he is. CB Sutton 3. All right, let's just chalk it up. Again, I'm getting exposure to all of the guys I won't be playing in DFS because they're too popular. So we'll get a little CD DJ more there. I hope you're right. I hope for all you. Do you play cash games? Cash game Charles? Montgomery seems fine for cash games. Montgomery seems fine for cash games. Also, I am going to, I had meant to do this the other day. I am going to do a drawing for the people who follow me on Betsperts. They're giving away a free $200. So anyone who had followed me within last week got entered into this competition. I've been posting my bets over on Betsperts. It's a free app that you guys can download. I'm doing all right. 9-6 record right now on my spread and over unders. I have some bets in for today. The link is down below, and maybe I can talk them into doing some more giveaways as well. But if you're interested in sports betting, Pete, been posting props, spread, over under stuff, just trying not to get my ass handed to me. And so far, so good over there, 9-6. All right, what quarterbacks do we still have chilling out here? I can probably wait on Dak Prescott. No one's doing Dak. What other tight ends do we have here? Kittle and Mandrews look pretty good. I could do some. I could set up another little game stack here. Let's see what Clay does. Clay goes Pitts. So I think I will go with some more correlation here, and we'll go with Kittle and Lockett. We'll go Kittle and Lockett, and then this also gives me more outs to finish at quarterback. So did Dak already went? Oh no, Dak's here, but I could go Dak. I could go Russell Wilson. I think that's solid. This is probably a pretty chalky build. I don't have anything too off the board there, but I don't know. Maybe the correlation will give me some uniqueness. Let's see. Marquise Brown or Devonta Smith in a GPP? I like Devonta Smith. I love that game environment. I don't think Devonta Smith is going to be super popular, although I'm feeling a little Devonta Smith steam. Just a little bit of steam. Hubbard or Henderson in cash? Definitely Hubbard in cash. Hubbard safer. Christopher Riley in a 32-team season-long league with 7 flex players. I need to know, do I start Tyler Kroft or Gunnar Olszewski? The problem is I can't tell if you're joking. Like, I legitimately think this could be a real thing because some of you guys are sickos. Tyler Kroft for sure. I am playing Zach Wilson in my small field single entry. Am I crazy? Yes. You are legitimately crazy. There's no need to play Zach Wilson. You play Zach Wilson in the Billy Maker. Normally I get these questions. I'm like, no, you're not crazy. Like, I get why you do that. No, you're actually crazy. You're crazy. Chalky, but he'll eat. I don't play that game. I do not play the game of trying to guess who's good chalk and who's bad chalk, but I wish you well, my friend. I wish you well. All right, let's do this giveaway here. And then I need to go and wrap up the Fantasy Life newsletter and make some lineups. I'm going to shuffle here. I'm going to post the link. You guys can follow me on Betsperts here. Free app. Come join me. Who wins? Cross 12. Cross 12. Congratulations. You just won $200. We will have to find a way to get in touch with you. But I believe we can message you on Betsperts. Congratulations, Cross. Thank you guys for hanging out today. I love doing these shows. Love talking through everything. Good luck with your lineups. We'll see if we get any news here that flips the slate on its head as inactives come in right now. I will be back for Tilt Space tonight around 6 or 6:30, depending on how we're doing. If you guys want to come sweat this, I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to review my single entry lineups, all that good stuff. Have a great week 4, guys. Stay comfy, stay cozy, win those GPPs.